have quite a number of climate enthusiasts, and definitely they'll be giving us more about this climate awareness. But every time we talk about temperatures going up, what do you understand by that? Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? When we see colors like blue starting to turn to red, what does that implicate here on the entire globe? Well, lucky for us, we do have Mollen Kenyena on the panel who will be telling us when we talk about climate awareness. You'll be hearing things like stripes, what? So she's going to be giving us more details on that. But also the gentlemen are joining us, and of course, Felix Nkunda and Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono. But first things first, Mollen, good morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Philomena.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
It's a good day. Stripes. I don't understand what's going on, but I know it's not a good thing or it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm just there. What's going on?
Well, it's usually very evident sometimes when we're talking about issues of climate change. And today is just special because it was designated 5 years ago for, climate change communicators across the world to dedicate one day to create more awareness on climate change. And then lucky for us, we got a professor in the University of Reading, that is Professor Ed Hawkins, who developed the warming stripes that are indicating the way temperatures have been changing right from about 100 years ago. And that is why you're seeing us going to the red. Later on, we'll be giving more details on that in our discussion. But it's basically about having a conversation about climate change. And this is where today you will see that a lot of climate communicators in the entire globe are all having the same topic, and that is about the warming stripes, how temperatures have been rising, but also we'll be dissecting more on what that means for Uganda.
Yes.
And so far where we are in terms of climate status. We'll be having climate scientists later on about 7:30 there, and we'll be talking more about it. But evidently, what is happening even in Uganda is that temperatures are going up, and basically due to human activities. So we'll be looking at more of that as well, which human activities have been at the forefront of doing that.
Yes.
And actually earlier there's a speech that the president had, and one of the speeches he was giving to the nation saying, look what is happening outside, and look what is happening in Uganda. Clearly there is climate change, but people who have polluted more are actually getting a lot of effects to themselves.
Yes.
But even us here, we can't just, sit back and relax. There's a lot that we can do here in the country.
Well, when you fully involve yourself in activities that sabotage the climate of your country, definitely you are bound to face the repercussions. And I guess we'll be hearing more of this story and information later on from Mollen and a couple of our special guests. But Felix, good morning.
Good morning, Philo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Awesome. How's your Wednesday? Midweek, I must say.
It's good.
But is Wednesday midweek?
Yeah.
How?
It is Wednesday, Monday,
7
Tuesday,
days.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Shouldn't it be like
well, we are not
tomorrow
counting
morning?
the weekend. Absolutely not. Yes, Monday to Friday.
So we got another fire ban. It's a school. I don't know if you learned about it. I think somewhere in the around Bundibujo. Quite a sad one, I must say. And there are these rules and guidelines that Ministry of Education passed. I don't know how far they are keen on implementing them, and also we normally talk about the DEOs, district education officers, and all other government representatives. I don't know, do they ever take some time to do their job, to check out the schools and the threat levels and all these other things? Like, everyone seems not to care much about what's happening just next door. Even the people who are responsible to do some of these checks. I think, just like we talked about here, there are things we can start avoiding. I want to say that we are a bit careless, Ugandans. We
are a bit
very careless.
I thought we are a bit.
No, honestly,
that was an understatement.
Like, we never take things. We're not responsible. Like, someone will do the lousiest thing. For example, someone will see a zebra crossing right ahead of him, but they'll choose to cross from.
Yes.
And then they expect the people driving to stop for, like, what's this?
That's because also the drivers will definitely
non-stop at the
in fact, they will hit that speed pedal. They will really.
There's something that is so annoying. Again, like, today I was so, that things that bring this road rage. There's so many traffic lights, like, unnecessary. every after like a kilometer, not even a kilometer, like 100 meters, there's a traffic light. Like from Tinda to here, you would spend. It's just also not just reasonable, honestly. There are so many traffic lights. But then, the people who drive. You're driving and you're so slow, like you're so, when the traffic light hits orange, you want to run, like you want to, that's when you remember, like, I don't know, like it's rush hours need to be respected, honestly. Rush hours, morning hours, evening hours, we need to respect them. Like, don't be so selfish. Don't be on the road and you're on the phone, because for you probably you're not rushing anywhere. These are rush hours. Someone is rushing to take someone to school, then run to work or in office, and morning hours are normally times for everyone to, so you need to be considerate. I just, I don't know why also people say that women drive in a funny way on the road. I'm not like, people say,
we are just going to, we are just going to apportion this blame to anybody gender-wise. I just feel like we have very many reckless
have you had an experience with a woman driver?
Men and women. I'm a good driver.
No, not yourself, but with another road driver probably who's a woman.
No, they're just generally reckless drivers, men and women on the roads. So there is nothing like this gender drives worse than this. It's a whole different
today
thing.
Being a woman crush, help us tell the women. Equality doesn't have to come on the road. Like,
I know
just
somebody
drive
who will tell us.
carefully.
I know somebody who will tell us, Robert, good morning. I don't know if you have been driven by a woman in a car, and I would really love to know your experience. And I would love for you to be very objective and very honest.
Well, first you've biased my thinking, my opinion, even before I say anything. Good morning, our viewers. Thank you so much for waking up with us on UPC TV. Now, I must say, women, when it comes to driving, they have issues, but I'm not going to go into that, because today is Women Crash Wednesday, and I'll crash on all women that drive and don't want to prove a point that I can also do it like men do it somehow, somewhere. Yeah, not crashing. So I'm crashing on those that do it the right way. Like, I've ever seen Mollen.
Mollen is a good issue. She's a good
driver. I'm a good driver.
Yeah.
You're a good driver. What can you say?
Let me leave that for another day. But so much is happening in our country, and I think I picked concern on two things. One, in Kakumiro, people who were attacked while praying, and one was hacked to death, others announcing injuries. And I'm like, when we were growing up, a church was a holy place, sacred place, a place you'd respect so much that even picking a mango, it usually had fruits around the compound. But we couldn't even steal that mango. You just want to ask, you know, because we believe these are holy grounds. Now, when someone goes and does that to a place of worship, to people in a place of worship, I think it's something. Our moral decadence has gone so far that we need only God to intervene. But also, this robbery in Muvende, in broad daylight. Don't know if you guys have come across those clips where these thugs came and fired and broad daylight and took off. And I'm asking myself, what happened to the different measures that His Excellency put in place? The LDUs, cameras, I don't know if in Muvende they're there, but still we had quick stand barrier forces at different police that could pursue such people. There's sort of some bit of gun violence cropping up, or gun theft.
Indeed.
And finally, URS says it is going to do what they call double tax register.
Yes.
In the next 2 years. So that means it has to bring double the number of people who have been paying tax, individuals and companies. It's now having about 3.6. About 2 years, it had about 1 point something. So now they're saying with this target for this financial year, about 29 trillion. Well, they have to bring more people on the tax base. They have to come up with more techniques to get hold of wherever money is. Ensure they tax, you pay tax. So fellow Ugandans, you may have been enjoying things, you maximizing profits without giving back. They are coming for you, because they want to put the burden on the already existing taxpayers. So they will look for more people to be brought on the taxway. So when we hear things like you don't qualify, organize your business, pay revenue so that we can help you, please, it is a noble cause for you to pay revenue. Hopefully, that the money we pay will be reflected in the way services are delivered to the people to motivate them to pay more.
Well, clearly that was bound to happen. We actually saw this happening because every other day we have been talking about how small of the tax bracket is here in Uganda. You look at the population versus the monies that are being collected by this tax ombudsman. So clearly we did expect this, but now I know very many people are going to be very sketchy and very stealthy, trying so much to avoid being pointed and pinned out by URA. But I want to trust the body. I want to trust this authority, that they do what they have to do and what is expected of them. We need that money, but we also want to see where the money is going. That's the most important thing. Right now, we will go into some of our local briefs and much later on look at what is happening on the global scene.
Well, Uganda is set to establish a trade hub in Bangred, Serbia, as part of the strategy to enhance presence in the Balkans region. The trade hub will provide a platform to promote and sell Uganda coffee, banana, chocolate, grains, and tourism with a goal of strengthening export revenue. During a meeting with ministers and private sector representatives who will play a key role at the trade hub, Prime Minister Right Honorable Robin Anabanja emphasized the significance of improving export revenue and urged delegates to capitalize on opportunity to effectively showcase Uganda's potential.
Now, the number of casualties resulting from the attack on Pondwe, that is Alubiriha Secondary School, has tragically risen to at least 43, with the recent passing of Mbubo Felista, aged 43, due to severe brain damage at Wera General Hospital. Now, investigations continue and authorities are actively pursuing more suspects connected to the attack.
And moving on, the National Resistance Movement leadership in Parliament appointed Badege Laibi, Division Member of Parliament, Ojara Mapenduzi as chairman of the Public Service Committee of Parliament. MP Mapenduzi was threatened to be dropped by the opposition as chairperson of PAC local government last year after he spearheaded a move to censure Francis Zake from his parliamentary commission job over misconduct. This comes at a time when Parliament is in its third session, allocates members to various sectorial committees of Parliament.
Now, still Parliament has approved a prospective expenditure for financial year 2022-2023, paving way for the further support of controversial Atiak Sugar Factory. Now, the total sum for the tunes of 1.4 trillion has been agreed as amounts spent under the mandatory 3% limit by government under a condition that the law must be clearly defined.
Well, crossing over to the international stories, at least 41 people have been killed in a riot at a women's prison in Honduras on Tuesday. It is understood that a fight broke out between rival gangs, after which one gang set a cell alight. Officials say the fire caused the majority of the deaths, but some of the victims were shot. The country's Deputy Security Minister, Julissa Villanueva, has declared a state of emergency and promised to crack down on the violence. She also authorized the immediate intervention of firefighters, police and military. Search and rescue crews are racing under challenging conditions to locate a submersible vessel that had been exploring the wreckage of the Titanic before it went missing in the Atlantic Ocean, a United States Coast Guard official says. Captain Jamie Frederick told reporters on Tuesday that the U.S. Coast Guard and Navy, the Canadian Military and Coast Guard, and the vessel's parent company, Ocean Gate Expeditions, are working under a unified command to conduct the search. He said about 1 p.m. that the vessel with 5 people on board had about 40 hours of oxygen left in it, stressing that the immediate priority is to find it. The sub originally had a 96-hour oxygen supply before it went missing on Sunday.
Well, in another story, ex-Rwandan police officer Fulgence Kayishema, accused of participating in the 1994 Rwandan genocide, has abandoned his application for bail and applied for asylum in South Africa. Prosecuting authorities did announce that on Tuesday. Kayishema, who had been on the run since 2001, was arrested last month under a false name of Donatien Nibashumba on a grape farm outside Cape Town. The International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda had indicted him for genocide for his alleged role in destruction of the Nyange Catholic Church, one of the bloodiest episodes in the 1994 genocide, killing 2,000 people. Kayishema faces 54 charges in South Africa, including some related to immigration fraud, the National Prosecuting Authority announced in a statement, and added that the 62-year-old accused has abandoned his bail application and will instead launch an asylum application today. Now in climate news, the Surgeon General recently highlighted social media as a source of harm to children's mental health. But there is another risk factor that is going unnoticed. We need to talk about what climate change means for children's mental health. According to a recent study in Science, children born today will experience 2 to 7 times as many weather-related disasters as their grandparents. And that's a minimum. This is an alarming figure, assuming that children grow up in a world where countries uphold their climate pledges. Many adults do not realize disaster can affect children's mental health in profound and long-term ways. After Hurricane Ike, I was part of the team of the surveyed nearly 300 elementary school students who lived in the path of the storm. Most adults were told that children had bounced back.
Well, that's pretty much interesting. You'd think there is nothing that, there is something that wouldn't be affected by climate change, but clearly each and everything has a way it is being impacted on. Looking at the stories coming in from our dailies, the Daily Monitor. What are the big stories over there, Felix?
Well, in here, street boys gang terrorism city. That is a rather terrorizing city, and the need for financial freedoms in real estate. And of course, also abducted students escape. They give you photos of those who managed to escape, and NRM names opposition MP to committee.
Well, later on, of course, we'll be sharing the big stories from other dailies within the region. For now, we will go for a break. It's Women Crash Wednesday, definitely. And you'll be listening to issues coming in from Julia Michaels. Everybody has issues, I am sure, where we are at right now. Could be social issues, economic, financial issues, which I do believe more so really lie more onto that side. And when we return, we will be having Good Morning Uganda newsreel for more discussions about what's happening around us. So do stay with us here on Good Morning Uganda, live on UBC TV.
Live from UBC.
The tamarind juice in it, made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning, Uganda. 21st of June 2023. My name is Philomena Mastiko. Thank you so much for watching UBC TV. Today is a Wednesday, Women Crash Wednesday, but also showing you that we are done with the first half of the week and slowly transcending into the second part of the week. Well, today is quite a very special day, very many things to talk about, but one thing for sure that I know we would take an interest in, amongst other things really, when we talk about climate awareness, quite a number of issues come to the table. And amongst us, of course, we do have quite a number of climate enthusiasts, and definitely they'll be giving us more about this climate awareness. But every time we talk about temperatures going up, what do you understand by that? Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? When we see colors like blue starting to turn to red, what does that implicate here on the entire globe? Well, lucky for us, we do have Mollen Kenyena on the panel who will be telling us when we talk about climate awareness. You'll be hearing things like stripes, what? So she's going to be giving us more details on that. But also the gentlemen are joining us, and of course, Felix Nkunda and Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono. But first things first, Mollen, good morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Philomena.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
I'm
it's a good day.
Stripes. I don't understand what's going on, but I know it's not a good thing or it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm just there. What's going on?
Well, it's usually very evident sometimes when we're talking about issues of climate change. And today is just special because it was designated 5 years ago for, climate change communicators across the world to
Through such important conversations, Airtel Uganda has made it possible for you to call across all networks in Uganda at the best rates with the new Bona voice bundles. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with minutes valid for calls on all networks. Dial *100*1#. Select voice bundles and select Bona voice bundles today.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that.
Okay.
The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Ocho mwami musoke njose nekusanga
Ate chichi.
Munange anti gwamanya kunyinyonyola ebintu by'emisolo bino nembitegeera.
Ate chichi leero.
Mbadde kuduuka nempulira nga abakyala bagamba tulina okwewandiisa mu nkola ya IFRIS.
Tukikolanga.
Ate mbadde
kituufu nnyo.
Mbadde sikimanyi nakyo.
Eyo y'enkola egenda okutuyamba okulwaninga bizinesi zaffe mu ngeri ya digital.
Etya.
Oba olina okuwandiisa bizinesi yo mu IFRIS osobola okumanya omuwendo gw'ebintu by'olina mu bizinesi yo, enfulumya n'ennyingiza mu bizinesi yo. Awo URA esobola okukola omulimu gwayo ogw'emisolo obulungi.
Nedda mwami musoke kye sitegeera. IFRIS eyingira etya mu bizinesi yange?
Kakati enkola ne IFRIS eyingiza bizinesi yo mu sisitemu ya URA kubanga tekyali kya buntu bulamu okugerekera omusolo ogutali mutuufu abateebereza buteebereza.
Ekyo kituufu ddala bannange, ekyo kituufu kubanga amazima obadde omusolo gubadde gwapaala bupaazi ng'ogenda n'osasula omusolo gw'otomanyiko omutwe n'amagulu kwegamba bambi nga tekiriiyo.
Olaba kakati ate n'ekirala IFRIS eyamba okukuuma ebiwandiiko bya bizinesi yo kuba biyinza okubulako, biyinza okukwata omuliro, naye kati wano IFRIS biba biri digitalized.
Bannange nekola ntya okwewandiisa?
Kyavu nnyo waludde dda. Okwewandiisa mu nkola ya IFRIS genda ku kibanja kya URA www.ura.go.ug awo olondeko e-invoicing
awo nno ogoberere endagiriro. URA tukulaakulanyize wamu Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Attention coffee farmers, traders and processors. Uganda Coffee Development Authority has important advice for a successful harvest season. Pick only red farm cherries to achieve good weight and high quality coffee. For natural processing, dry coffee on tarpaulin, concrete or clothing to avoid mold growth. Avoid heaping coffee on the floor. Store coffee in jute bags and in ventilated rooms on wooden pallets. For more information on good harvest practices, visit your nearest extension worker or Uganda Coffee Development Authority offices.
These days, our homes are no longer just the places we live. It's where we attend meetings, go to class, keep each other safe, and entertain ourselves. To do this smoothly, you need a reliable internet connection. Buy the MTN WakaNet router, which connects up to 32 devices and gets a free 40 GB data bundle at only 149,000 shillings. Or buy the MTN WakaNet MiFi at only 75,000 shillings and enjoy a free 15 GB bundle to stream, study, work, and play on the go. Visit any MTN service center to buy the MTN WakaNet router or MiFi and enjoy the internet that does amazing things.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Welcome to the newsreel. 4 minutes past 7 a.m., 21st of June 2023, a Wednesday. My name is Philomena Mastiko. Remember that today we are really focusing on Climate Awareness Day and, of course, talking about how the temperatures have been warming up over time, clearly showing you from way back how the activities we have fully indulged in as the entire globe are really doing a number on climate change. And now that we are seeing the color transitions all the way from blue to red, showing you how warmer the climate is becoming and clearly how it is very detrimental to our day-to-day living. Of course, like we did promise you, Mollen later on will be giving you quite the insights with our special guests. But in this newsreel this morning, we want to talk about another subject that we do believe is very, very pertinent when it comes to development of the country and, of course, looking at different categories of people. Well, this morning, myself, Robert and Felix will be discussing about the proposition that has been put out by government where they're calling for the elderly to actively engage in income-generating ventures or come up with at least business ideas. Why? Well, this is going to help them be able to access and benefit from the parish development model. Remember that we were looking at the youth being quite the biggest beneficiaries of the parish development model, but government says actually no. Even the elderly at this point in time can be beneficiaries of the parish development model. And again, I know that we do have here an ambassador of parish development model, that is Robert. I mean, could you give us create a picture for us what exactly this means, how the elderly definitely will be benefiting from this parish development model, and if they really engaged into other business ventures, what is the correlation between the two?
Well, we must know that government of Uganda, or the NRM government, because it is the party that is in power, has had a number of initiatives intended to ensure that they financially empower Ugandans. If I'm to mention, the list is endless. Right from Intandikwa, by then Chisamba Mugerwa, we had wealth creation, we had youth livelihood, which is still also there. You remember, we had the NADS. There's so much. In northern Uganda, we have NUSAF. We have this Luwero triangle. There's also some money put there. So there have been a number of initiatives aimed to financially assist Ugandans do better, make more money. However, it has been more of planning from up. Now, government felt it wise that if they let the parish, because we know how we've divided our country through decentralization, if everything is centered at the parish, where it is people who decide what they want to do, then government facilitates that and aids them. So they came up with a parish development model, which consists of 7 pillars. Among them is the most prominent one, which is financial inclusion. I think that is pillar number 3. But there's pillar 1, which is production. It looks at market. It looks at value addition. However, because pillar 3 has money, giving money, it has attracted a lot of attention, because there is where people, if organized in proper groups, will get financial assistance. Now, when the elderly are told to organize themselves, to come up with business ideas, is because we've had a number of monies that target particular groups. We have a special fund under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development that is for women. We've had that is typically for youth. You've had a Myoga, still you look at the age bracket it's targeting. But under parish development model, it is not ring-fenced to any particular age group. Because the elderly have been facing a challenge. I know Felix deals so much with borrowing money in banks, loans, and all that. There's so much in this sector.
As a consultant?
Definitely.
Okay.
In terms of
now,
mortgage.
One of the challenges the elderly face is that they are not given loans. If I went to a bank and someone 60 plus went to a bank, I would quickly get a loan. He can't tell you that. Because they are considered people with high risk in terms of payment. So banks, when they need financial assistance, banks don't come closer to them. They'll tell you, let's look at the age. Mosey, we don't give you a what? You don't qualify. So they are left with nowhere to go to when they need financial assistance. And remember, under the parish development model, we are looking at 39% of our population that is not in the money economy, to bring them in the money economy. Now, most of these people are in villages. They are no longer working, because even we've had retired civil servants or people who did some work, and as they're aging, you hear this saying, so the person leaves town, moves out of active participation and making, then goes to the village just to look at what little they have been able to get to dig around, eat, and sleep, and wait for tomorrow. Eat, sometimes some little given by children, they have grandchildren. So it has been a group that has for a long time been left out. And in addition to parish development model, I'm also happy that government has also another fund that it has set up specifically targeting the elderly, those 60 and above, because those of 80 in some places have been getting some money, such about 25,000 a month.
Yes.
But that has been for just welfare. 25,000 omukadanywe kasukali aliye kanyama.
I mean, we've also had complaints still that the 25,000 is not enough for them. Yes, it's not sustainable.
Well, I don't want to go into that 25 if it is or not.
Yes. They believe they needed more income.
At least,
yes.
you see, when you get to that age, certain things that you desire not so much. Kulia kanyama, once in a while. So that 25, I don't want to know if it is much or not, but really because...
But it's there.
But it's there. And they get it. Now, with the parish development model, it's not just little money. It is for creating wealth so that they can make these groups well organized, money is delivered to their account, they can invest into something. And now they have the power to purchase, they have the power to buy, they have all this. So that is where government is telling them, don't sit back and be content. For us, we are old people. Or we are going to be isolated because other government programs have not been factoring us in. Emyoga, targeting youth who are doing the same job. And they are under Myoga, I think there are about 18 categories. As long as you do the same thing, you're youthful, go get money. Youth livelihood, even the word you hear it.
Yes.
Youth livelihood. Now, when we come to wealth creation, still they were looking at potential people. Those are the ones who could go and say, I want this. Now, they are telling them, under this, you're also included. Don't sit back, have these ideas, organize yourselves, ensure that you benefit from this. Because it is all inclusive.
Okay. Well, we are talking about empowering older persons. Government is actually calling them to, start off some small business ventures to be able to utilize the parish development model. We want monies to go to the people who are definitely going to use them. So go ahead and let us know if this could be something that could actually create wealth even amongst the elderly people. Let us know how you feel about it. Get onto our social media platforms on 0709602592. That is WhatsApp, and you can also join the conversation on our hashtag UBCGMU. That is on Twitter. Share your 2 cents with us. Felix, this strategy, could it take us where we want to take us? The whole intent to create wealth amongst the elderly people. Would this be the right move, or could it be part of the right strategies we are looking at?
Well, if you're discussing inclusion of elderly people, I think the approach can't be the generic. And that's where I find fault in this government approach. It can't be generic. For very many obvious reasons, when you ask them to engage themselves into income-generating activities,
yes.
Which ones? Unless you've forgotten your preamble calling them elderly.
The elderly, yes.
So I don't find much sense in that. Secondly, the elderly must have their own given portion or docket, because of the uniqueness that they carry by nature. They must have their own docket. We must cut out particular activities that they can do ably and make them available to those people. For example, the parish development model pushes people or does usher people into an avenue of being innovative, trying to engage them. Like when you get the money, how many elderly can dig? How many of them can transport goods? How many of them, with all these illnesses, with all these physical challenges, just to mention the legs, the backs, the what, but there are things they can do ably. There are very many things. How about we identify these things and make that work available? I told you of one of the stories that I encountered when I was in a place called Aberdeen. I noticed that the city taxis were were by far driven by the elderly. It was a docket that the council left
for that category
women or those who are willing to still work. Any taxi you call from Aberdeen, Bariden, even when you go to states like Glasgow, Edinburgh, they're just the elderly. You get like it is not very tiresome. It is, you get and they can work when they're able. They have shifts, and they're earning something. But also that helps them increase their lifespan. Away from, for us in Uganda, when they get old, exactly, you want them to be in the village. And but what have you prepared for them in the village? Every time they wake up, they are looking at the graveyards. Are you preparing them for death or what? So the government move is good, that it is thinking about the elderly, but we must create the relevant spaces for them, not the general spaces. When you tell them to actively engage in what? The Kirabos can run, he can run Nakasero, go to Chibuye, go 7 markets in one day. Can an elderly do that really? So we need to create the safe spaces, safe business, economic spaces for this category. Okay? For example, when you come to public service, can we create some docket for them? There are some also offices that can accommodate. But for you quick to retire people, because I don't even know what informs the criteria. Once you clock 60, what is it, 64 now? You leave public service. Around there, not sure, but around 60 something. You're leaving to what?
You become a pensioner, you're going to.
Can you imagine a judge? That is the best time for someone to be a judge. Because the person is bringing experience of about 40. But when you want to retire the person, other countries are voting presidents of 80s. Nigeria, is it Tunibu? Is it 70 something? for you chasing the old elderly. That's the best time to utilize them, but the reverse is true.
There's an assumption that they are less productive.
No.
Maybe there are some things they can actually yield
they have
productivity.
A number of diseases that are kicking in at that time.
Diseases don't make you inefficient. They can limit you. And that's not a general appreciation.
On average, a number of them.
No, that the reason why you people look at it that way, because this country has not done much to preserve their health. That's the reason every old person you think is sick, because they have not been getting good medical health. They have not been, housing is not good. You know,
there are very many other really
contributors.
Yes.
But the ideal is that let me tell you, there is no way we can succeed minus exploiting. At the age of 65, that's the best time for you to engage with someone professionally. Either when it's talk about businesses, someone has been doing business, let's say from the year of 20, and they turn 65, they carry with themselves 45 years of experience. That's the best time. So how do we use these people's knowledge? I think we are sending them to the wrong address. When you tell them to engage into economic, how about we maybe create a think tank for them? Advisory in all aspects, than to just push them to the villages.
Because they've been around, so they actually have an idea about
Imagine a gynecologist who is 65 and started practicing at the age of 25. 40 years of experience, and you're saying the man to retire. Really? Seriously?
And when some retire, they go to private practice.
Take that person to Mulago, take him to Makerere, take them to Nkumba, to UCU. You get the point. But when you don't just push them out, this is what we should think about. When you ask them, how do you tell now a man who has been practicing engineering for the last 50 years to get into economic generating activities?
Income generating, yes.
You also want them to come and line up at Gombolora.
But shouldn't there be like specific kinds of business ventures?
That's what I'm saying. Their approach shouldn't be the general approach.
Yes.
It must be more singular, tailored to the disciplines. The ones who have been doing farmers, how do we, someone has been doing coffee farming for the last 60 years.
But for you, the head of the coffee board in Uganda,
and they've been doing this commercially rather.
All
yes.
From the garden they have done. But for you, when you get to the coffee boards of this country, you'll meet the Kirabos. I graduated in aquaculture, culture of the agriculture of the way. These people should be relevantly placed in these organizations. You come to broadcasting. Institutions, you have people like the owners of this world. They have done journalism for how many years? 40, 50 years. You just can't say you retire such a person to go and look for money, parish development model money. No. I think we need to be honest. You can't approach issues of the elderly generally.
I agree with my brother Felix when he says
when you have,
that.
just a moment, you have a museum, you have, what are they doing? Then you go to the museum, it's about telling history. Then you have a senior 6 graduates.
Maybe there's some clarification
yes,
I just
talking about a motoka yakabaka. Who they did
see?
Yes, Robert.
I've listened to Felix. You see, not going out of context of what we are discussing, we are looking at these people being urged to come up with ideas and also join the parish development model. Now, one thing we must understand with parish development model, because I had my brother talking about retired guiners, talking about engineers, parish development model does not appeal to everyone when you go to Pillar 3. And this is the big mistake we are making. The elderly urged to join or participate in PDM and not the caliber that my brother is talking about. Because those don't qualify for financial inclusion because they have pension or they have some money they are getting.
That's not general, you know.
Now, when we look at the elder of this
not every engineer in this country
we
gets
must,
pension.
but still they are believed that they have said something and they have done
by
so.
Who?
Let me just drive.
We're not dealing with beliefs here. It is
if you're looking at,
you
must understand the two types of elderly we have in this country. There's those that have had exposure, that have worked, and they're even better off than many youth. Then there are those we are looking at in villages. These are illiterate. These are people who have been in that. They are not in the money economy.
They want to come up with ideas.
They're not in the money economy. But if, for example, this person, they can organize themselves and maybe have a few goats home. The elderly we are looking at, they have a homestead.
Elderly rare goats.
So we are looking
Felix,
at
let's listen to this. Let's not think these are
more
impossibility. Already today, when you go to these villages, what are elders doing in your village, Philo? Don't you say Wamukade? Don't you find some poultry there? Don't you find some goats around there? Don't you find even 2, 3 cows around there? Because it doesn't mean that the elderly must hold with the energy. No, you can. I am a farmer, but there is no way I wake up and do the cleaning for these animals and all that. No, it's these people are not in the money economy, and the elder persons to come and join. Simple capital. Parish development model is not going to give you billions or 100 million a person. We are looking at 100 million maybe per parish, per financial year. So it is going to be that little money for this elder person to begin earning something small and maybe later graduate into that. So the category we are talking about is not the category my brother is talking about, the likes of retired justice
but what actually
Magola, who is chairman of Elderly Council and all that.
Just to put in this in context.
So we shouldn't
that's why I gave
lose
examples
the
of
parish
farmers
development
who have been doing coffee.
Yes,
this is relative.
A person who has been doing coffee, he's a commercial farmer, he's in the money economy, he's not targeted under
There are
this.
farmers who have also been doing commercial farming.
Yes.
We also need to understand that there are different types of farmers that we're looking at. But, well, the hope anyway here is that everybody becomes a beneficiary of the parish development model, but you can only do that if you have probably, according to what you're explaining,
yes,
you have an idea that you're presenting, and also depending on what category of people you're coming from. So we are yet to see how that is going to really turn out. But again, obviously, I would really want this because at the end of the day, we are all looking for money. We are talking about poverty, even in villages where most of these elderly people are, aside from the ones that are still this side. Felix, we did agree here that in Uganda, when an old person really comes of age, we want to push them to the village to be there. So maybe this would be an opportunity for them to actually tap into this fund or the parish development model. We'll leave the discussion at that. We still have a lot coming in from Mollen, who is going to be giving us more on this climate and weather conversation. Like we did say earlier on today, Climate Awareness Day, looking at the rising temperatures over time. So she'll be taking us through more on that. Good morning, Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Ensangi zino amaka gaffe tegakyali kifo gye tusula busuzi. Waafuuka ekifo we tukolera enkiiko z'emirimu, we tusomera, we twenywereza mu byokwerinda, era we tusanyukira. Ebintu bino byonna okutambula obulungi weetaaga internet eyesigika. Weefunire router ya MTN Wakanet esobola okuyungako ebyuma 32 ofune bando ya GB 4 ez'obwereere ku mitwalo 14,900 zokka. Obagula MTN Wakanet MiFi ku mitwalo 7.5 zokka ofune bando ya GB 15 ey'obwereere onyumirwe omutimbagano gwa internet. Genda ku maduuka ga MTN ogule MTN Wakanet MiFi oba router onyumirwe internet ekola ebyewuunyisa.
Ocho mwami Musoke njose nekusanga
Ate chichi.
Munange anti gwamanya kunyinyonyola ebintu by'emisolo bino nembitegeera.
Ate chichi leero.
Mbadde kuduuka nempulira nga abakyala bagamba mbu tulina okwewandiisa mu nkola ya IFRIS.
Tukikolanga.
Kituufu
nnyo.
Mbadde sikimanyi nakyo.
Eyo y'enkola egenda okutuyamba okulwaninga bizinesi zaffe mu ngeri ya digital.
Etya.
Oba olina okuwandiisa bizinesi yo mu IFRIS osobola okumanya omuwendo gw'ebintu by'olina mu bizinesi yo, enfulumya n'ennyingiza mu bizinesi yo. Awo URA esobola okukola omulimu gwayo ogw'emisolo obulungi.
Nedda mwami Musoke kye sitegeera. IFRIS eyingirete mu bizinesi yange.
Kakati enkola ne ya IFRIS eyingiza bizinesi yo mu system ya URA kubanga tekyali kya buntu bulamu okugerekera omusolo ogutali mutuufu abateebereza buteebereza.
Ekyo kituufu ddala bannange, ekyo kituufu kubanga mazima obadde omusolo gubadde gwapaala bupaazi ng'ogenda n'osasula omusolo gw'otomanyiko omutwe n'amagulu kwegamba bambi nga tekiriiyo.
Olaba kakati ate n'ekirala IFRIS eyamba okukuuma ebiwandiiko bya bizinesi yo kuba biyinza okubulako, biyinza okukwata omuliro, naye kati wano IFRIS biba biri digitalized.
Bannange nekola ntya okwewandiisa?
Kyamu nnyo waludde dda. Okwewandiisa mu nkola ya IFRIS, genda ku kibanja kya URA www.ura.go.ug. Awo olondeko e-invoicing. Awo no ugoberere endagiriro. URA tukulaakulanyize wamu Uganda.
Kato, this is a quick call. I'm almost out of minutes. Now, so the center.
Why rush through such important conversations? Airtel Uganda has made it possible for you to call across all networks in Uganda at the best rates with the new Bona voice bundles. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with minutes valid for calls on all networks. Dial *100*1#. Select voice bundles and select Bona voice bundles today.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for keeping it here at UBC with us this morning. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what we have in the background today and why the blue and red. Well, that is a discussion that we're going to have this morning, mostly indicating how temperatures have been changing across Uganda for the last 100 years, but also looking at since the industrial level, since 1901, what has been happening in terms of temperatures changing, but also the consequences of that. And obviously today, this is a very special day in the weather and climate world, where we look at the warming stripes under the hashtag Show Your Stripes. This is a global campaign that brings together meteorologists, climate scientists, communicators across the world having a single topic to discuss, and that is the warming stripes as well, indicating the rise in temperatures. And we want to bring the campaign here in Uganda as well and look at how far we've gone, especially in terms of rising temperatures, but also what is associated with that. And it actually falls on a very special day as well. That is the 21st of June 2023, which also happens to be a summer solstice on the meteorological calendar. It is called the summer solstice. And this is a period where we look at changes within the northern hemisphere. It is summer solstice in the northern hemisphere and winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. And obviously it's a point which carves an intersection of the equinox. Quite an interesting one, but we'll leave it at that and basically look at the warming stripes, and we'll be explaining much more of what each of those stripes is representing. But with me here in the studio to discuss this more at length is the Manager, Directorate of Forecasting Services, UNIMA, Mr. Omon George William. This morning we will be discussing more into the changing weather patterns in Uganda and which one of those are linked to climate change, but also creating more awareness on the basic knowledge of what we mean when we talk about climate change. A very warm welcome this morning, Mr. Omon, and we're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me for this talk show.
Well, first things first, earlier someone was telling me the warming stripes actually look beautiful. And then my reply was, yes, they look beautiful, but at the end when you look at the red, it is worrying. It shouldn't be just beautiful, but it is worrying. But we want to understand, because when we talk about climate change, a lot of people look at it as a very strange word without knowing exactly what that encompasses. We would want you to walk us through some of the extreme weather events that would indicate that, yes, this is linked to climate change, or how far the problem has gone in terms of the changing weather patterns.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I start with the climate change, what it is. Because, you know, people always confuse the two so much, particularly climate change and climate variability. Climate change, normally it involves long-term changes. And this kind of change can take like not less than 10 years, whereby you see a consistent kind of change, either a decrease in rainfall or an increase in rainfall for a period of not less than 10 years, going up to 30. So there you can tag it to a climate change. But when we talk of climate variability, that is changes within a shorter period of time. Like rain for the month of January, it can come when people least expected it. Then during the rainfall season, you can see there is a lot of dry spell or drought can hit. So those are what they are tagged as climate variability. So changes happens within a longer period of time and it is consistent, while variability happens within a shorter period of time. Now, if you look at the climate change itself, it is not only affecting Uganda, it is affecting the whole globe. And there are so many factors, the causes of climate change. And it comes both from the globe at large and also from Uganda particularly, they also contribute. Now, if we are to look at what are the causes of the climate change, there are mainly two causes of climate change. One of them, the natural changes. When I talk about the natural changes, it means the sea or the water bodies, they are changing, the oceans. Now, as they change, they cause change in the climate system. At the same time, also the land, the one we are sitting on, it is also changing. When they're changing, they also results in the climate change. We have also like the mountains, some of the mountains that erupts. You see this kind of particles that they emit into the atmosphere. They also results in the climate change. Then the solar radiation, the one we receive from the sun, the amount which is coming from that is not the same with the one which is reaching the surface. So that kind of changes in the amount of solar radiation, this also results in the change. But if those were changing, the natural changes, there would be no problem. But now the second reason, the second causes of the climate change, which is the most dangerous, is man-made. Now, when we look at the man-made, we can look at what man are doing. We take, for example, like the industrialization, the population increase, then the bush burning. So all those kind of things, we call it the man-made induced climate change. Now, what they're doing, they're impacting more. In fact, they're contributing, they're adding more onto what is already happening. Then at the end, you expect the climate or the temperature, the rainfall to be changing drastically.
And I'm glad you're actually bringing out the changes, the drastic changes that are happening. My producer right there was just putting on some of the showcases today that are happening across the world in terms of, they show you stripes about the warming trend, and just showing the white cliffs of Dover in the UK right now that just go on the waters, and they specifically they illuminated it with the warming stripes this morning. We've also seen, that's the white cliffs of Dover this morning, illuminated in those warming colors, indicating changes across the UK from the blue also to the red. The trend is actually very similar. You look at some of the campaigns that are going on. Also earlier we did see that is part of the US, that is also in the US where they have illuminated the warming stripes, also the changes, similar trend at the end since from 2010 actually. A lot of that is in the red, indicating that temperatures have gone above the threshold, and that is what we're looking at. We have also seen a lot of people come up with the campaign, and obviously what is on the screen right now, looking at the temperature changes in Uganda. You notice the blue lines right there, that is from 1901. We're still, below threshold, and that is normal temperatures. We don't have a lot of extreme weather events. But as you start from 2000, that's when we start to go up, and you see the red colors are the ones above the zero line, the zero line, indicating that then we start to hit above threshold in terms of increase in temperatures, and that goes all the way up to 2022, according to the data that has been analyzed from the University of Reading by Professor Ed Hawkins, who did bring out a visualization of the changes across the world. And we've seen a lot of people join the campaign each year. We did see the Pope actually also come up to give his awareness message on climate change, and he was also wearing his robe on with climate stripes, indicating that you know, we can go on with that. We see the professor right there as well with the Pope trying to explain what these warming stripes actually mean, right from when we weren't doing any harm. And like manager did put it here, we started off with you know, not a lot of events or extreme weather events. So that is the Pope right there as well, showing his stripes and obviously the changes across the world in terms of temperatures. And a lot of scientists that are also coming on board. We did see the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, also talking about the climate stripes. But also this morning we're also showing our stripes here in Uganda. We did yes. join the campaign and basically looking at what temperature changes have been in Uganda, and this is something that we did focus on as well. What does the blue mean? What does the red mean? And like we noticed earlier, the red is obviously starting from 2010. The last 10 years have been the warmest on planet, breaking records. Yeah. Record temperatures have been broken, and we want to look at the consequences of that, because when we talk about temperature changes, we also know that that is associated with extreme weather events. We have seen the drought in Karamoja, for example, across the Greater Horn of Africa. Also, the seasonal forecast that was given earlier indicated that across the Greater Horn of Africa, we've had failed rainy seasons. And we want to understand what the implications of that would be, and obviously talk about the changes in the rainfall patterns that have been happening across Uganda.
Okay. Thank you so much. So when you look at these colors, we have the blue, then the red toward the end. So when we look at the blue colors, that one, scientists, we call it during the pre-industrial period. And as the country, the world started becoming industrialized, then these blue colors started changing into the red. Yes. Now, how does it come? I said before that what we do as human beings, we are emitting a lot into the atmosphere. So one of the things that we emit to the atmosphere that results into the changes of the climate is what is called the greenhouse gases. An example of greenhouse gases is the carbon dioxide gas. We have the methane, we have the hydrocarbon, and all those plus others, even water vapor. High concentration of water vapor in the atmosphere normally results into an increase in temperature of the globe. Now, how does it come? Because you look at the industries, like in developed countries. Uganda, we have also industries, but not to the level of developed countries. So if you see the kind of smoke they're emitting into the atmosphere, sometimes you can see it even covers the whole atmosphere. It is like a cloud. So this smoke contains this carbon dioxide gas. Now, this carbon dioxide gas is a greenhouse gas. And this greenhouse gas, it is the consequences of these climate changes, because it increases the temperature of the globe. Now, it is not only that, and you see, whenever it is happening in developed countries, they are not the only one who are affected, because that thing will spread all over the world. So we can have those kind of industries in Europe, but we should not be surprised to see the effect. Is
because
also
we share the same atmosphere, so the
yeah.
effects could actually get to us as well.
Exactly. We share the same atmosphere, so it is spread all over the world. Now, because of that, you can now see the temperature has started rising up, and also at the same time you see the rainfall is failing during the time we expect it. And you can also see the time we are expecting to go dry, some abrupt rainfall is coming, so there is a lot of interruption. In addition to that, the time we are expecting the rain to start, it delays. It can even go 1 month plus. Or rain can come earlier. Thereafter, it will disappear in the middle. And in addition to that, we also have a lot of drought. Frequency is very high. flood is hitting the place each and every time. Many times people think that when we talk about climate change, it is about dry condition, it is about drought. No. At some part of the country, in other part of the country, it can result in heavy rainfall with a lot of flooding, while in other places it result to heavy, too much drought. Then prolonged dry spell is so frequent. Now, in that, what can we do? Or before we go into that, what are we contributing as Uganda due to the climate change? We have seen in the first place that climate change is coming as a result of population increase. Now, this population increase comes with a lot of demand for energy. And this particular energy, the economic factor we can look at with zero, we want to narrow it down to the grassroots. These burning of charcoal, burning of charcoal and forests around. Yeah. So it results into destruction, because we know very well, if you look at the forest really, it is very good for moderating the local climate of the place. We take, for example, here in the central. During the rainfall season, we can see area around Mukono receive more rainfall compared to area around Kampala. Why? Because Mabira forest is the main contributor of that. If you go further, like to the northern or eastern part of the country, like in Karamoja, where you see vegetation is too low, you find that is explained due to the less vegetative cover of the place. So it is very important that we need to look at those kind of things. And in addition to that, we also go further to encroach onto the what? Onto the wetland, which is available. All those wetlands are very good in moderating the local climate of the place. So these are some of the factors that we are doing. We are adding more problem onto problem, and that's why increased temperature is now so prominent. Reduction in rainfall is so prominent during the rainfall season. Failure of the rainfall season, it is also so prominent. And sometimes flood is very common whenever rain comes. Dry spell is very common whenever rain is expected. And sometimes during the dry season, the drought is so more, or the dry condition is so severe. So all those are coming due to what we are doing, which results into the climate change.
Absolutely, and we look at the fact that, of course, when they come, when all these extremes come, they have a very big impact on the population. And obviously, you did bring out a very good point, especially on how, as human beings, we've been putting a lot of pressure on nature, and the results are not good, because we end up with distractions, and we have also seen a lot of extreme floods that, for example, the case of Mbali, just some time back, where a lot of people died from that destruction of property, all because people are now starting to encroach on the river banks. We've seen the cases in River Nyamamba as well, where this river is always busting its banks, and the intensity of the rains that are coming when it's a rainy season are also very drastic. And we look at the frequency, even when you consider the statistics, since 2010, the frequency has just been increasing. But even when you have a small contribution to the crisis, the climate crisis in general, you will suffer the impacts clearly. True. But we want to look at the way forward. We want to understand what can be done, especially in making sure that people adapt to the changing climate. And this is a question that we're also asking our viewers to participate in. If we are looking at a changing climate, we are talking about all these weather events that might be associated. We want to be able to, live with the changes, how best we can do that, how best we can adapt to these changes. And we know that at the Uganda National Meteorological Services, obviously you do bring up these forecasts and give to the farmers, but also to other sectors on expected weather conditions. And how far people can, use the right weather information to actually go on with activities. Because the world is not stopping. We are not stopping with activities. We will continue. We need to live. But how best are also these forecasts made available to the people to make sure that, some of the initiatives that as the Directorate of Forecasting or as UNIMA has put across to make sure that when these forecasts are coming, when these weather changes are expected, people are able to take them on and obviously get a good result out of whatever weather changes are expected.
Okay, thank you. Before I go to that, I want to add more onto health. Because I've talked about the weather, the changes, the water temperature, the rainfall, but not forgetting also the health. On health, we can see some diseases which are coming in place. And they were not there. So some of them are due to these changes of the climate. I give an example. Kabale, southwestern Uganda, used to be called a malaria-free zone. But right now, as you go there, you find a lot of mosquitoes and people are suffering from malaria, meaning the temperature has gone higher because the temperature is now so conducive for malaria to come in place and mosquito to breed. Then some new plant species have also come in place, while other old ones have disappeared. All those are coming as a result of these climate changes. Then I give an example also, the mountain of our mountain Rwenzori. You see the ice cap, the ice coverage is now reducing. So the reduction in the ice coverage, it is due to the increase in temperature. And all those are contributing due to the climate change.
Those are all evidences.
Yeah, those are some of the evidence. Then if you look at our rainfall pattern, whereby you find that other areas which used to receive a lot of rainfall, nowadays the rainfall has reduced completely. So those one clearly shows that the climate is changing. Now, if I'm to go to what should people do? Well, adaptation is one of the process of the climate change because the climate is here with us. It will keep on changing and there is nothing we can stop it because some of the things which cause the climate change, we are doing it because we want to live. So, as Uganda,
survival now.
Yeah,
yes.
As Uganda, well, I start with the government because people are putting a lot of pressure on the natural resources because they need more energy. Now, what can the government do? The government should try to reduce the electricity costs so that instead of people now going into the forest, cutting the forest, so that at the end we find reduction in rainfall, they better use electricity, which is one of the sources of energy. Number two, good enough, I like the government has removed taxes on solar energy, because that one is a free source of energy, whereby if you can invest in solar, I think you will be in a position to save the environment so well. Then secondly, we need also the government to reduce the costs, remove taxes on the what? On the gases, the gas for cooking. You know, right now there are very few people who are using what? Gas cookers. Because they fear, they only see the water expense. It is very expensive. If it can be reduced, then people will look at that one as an alternative source of energy. Then you find the uses of these charcoal, cutting of the trees will definitely come down. Then more importantly, there is need for awareness creation because people don't know what they are doing. If we can give a lot of awareness creation to the whole population right from the grassroots, like we have the Paris Development Model. So this Paris Development Model should be used at least to create awareness to the public also that some of the things they are doing can result into the impact of these climate vagaries. So they need to know that so that they're in the position to change accordingly. Then we cannot also go away with, you know, because of the new emergence of some disease which is coming, disease of crops, they also human. So good enough, we have the Natural Resource Research Organization for Agriculture. They're coming up with new species of what? Of crops. All these kind of crops, they are somehow more vulnerable to the change in the climate. So we need to adapt to that because the old one, they're so vulnerable right now, nowadays. They can easily be affected. So we need to invest in that research organization so that they are able to come up with new varieties which can resist the changes in the climate system. Thank you.
Well, that is very well put, and obviously talking about what we can do when it comes to the changing climate. And I'm glad you did talk about awareness, because this is also what we are creating even today as we are having a conversation. It is no wonder most of the stripes that are coming out today saying start a conversation on climate change. These are conversations that we need to have on every level, including the political agenda. These are some of the things that should be addressed, because they do affect everyone here or on this planet. And some of the campaigns that have also been coming across, you look at people saying there is no planet B, we have planet A. So this is what we have to take care of. And we are not avoiding the fact that these changes are there. And we are at the forefront. We are witnessing them, and we're looking at the way forward. And that is what we term as climate action, to be able to, you know, probably get back to where we were. And we know that there has been a lot of interventions coming even at a global level, looking at one of those being the Paris Agreement, where every country that is member to the United Nations did say we will be reducing these temperatures to well below 2 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. But we're saying that that is not the case with human activities. And like you did mention earlier, we are looking at more of the activities that we're doing, especially banning of fossil fuels. And right now there is also a huge call for countries to adapt to the renewable energy, and you did mention some of those being solar energy, but wind energy, and we're seeing manufacturers even going for the electric cars. Earlier we also saw that one of the products that came out, Tesla, did give a little bit of awareness as well on the warming stripes. They had their car painted in this in the warming stripes, and I know my producer will be bringing that up as well as we look at, when we're looking at electric cars. These are some of the interventions that have been done to ensure that we are looking at a way of moving away from the burning of fossil fuels. And you also did mention cooking gas. And we know that there have been initiatives that have been done by government also to give out free gas to communities. That is a project that was still, I think, in the pipeline or having covered a few places. But that is something that we'll be looking forward to be done. Imagine if we had a lot of homes getting this cooking gas. That means there will be a low demand for charcoal. And meaning that you're now reducing on the trees that are being cut. And those are some of the initiatives that can be done. But we also, as we conclude, Mr. Omoin, what would be, as we talk about engaging on weather and climate information, what would be a takeaway for every Ugandan to be mindful about in, their contribution in climate, but also how we can, get a few solutions to the problem at hand?
Okay, thank you so much. Number one thing, early warning information. We need to take action, because Uganda National Meteorological Authority, the generator of weather and climate information, generate the forecast product at a different time scale. So this early warning information is very important for early action. The moment you receive this early warning information, please kindly take consideration of that and take early action. Because by taking early action, you are now in a position to prepare for what is coming. And at the end, you find that the impact will be less compared to what could have come to you before when you have not taken the early action. Now, looking at it, because you see, like people are so much into the financial aspect of it, because the climate's changing. And the major contributor of this climate change is developed countries. And these developed countries, because of in the conference of the climate change, they have agreed to give a financial support to developing countries. That one should not be our basic, whereby we should rely on it. Let us try to do a lot, and what can we do? So number one, I talk about the early warning information that should be taken, so that for early action to be put in place. So if we look at all those, you will see that majority of the population, they are more into looking at what can I do right now so that I survive on it. It is very bad. Let us look at the future tomorrow. So if we want to look at the future tomorrow, what can we do at the rural background? Number one, we know very well trees are very important. Let us plant trees around our places. The moment we have started planting a lot of trees, then at the end, we find there will be a change in our weather. There will be a change in the climate, also in the local climate of the place. You can moderate your own climate of your place by putting those kind of vegetation in place. The moment you cut them, definitely you know that you will be going to the worst. Then demand for charcoal. I know people, they need it because they see that there are no any other alternatives. But when you cut, please see a way of replacing it back. Because if you don't replace, what do you expect your future generation tomorrow to rely on it? 3, most important, I was about to forget it. By the way, people don't know animals. Animals is also a major source of climate change. Absolutely. The animal dropping, they are the source of methane gas. Methane gas is a source of greenhouse gas. And it goes direct into the atmosphere. Let us limit the numbers. We should not we should not have a lot, because people are happy when they see that they have numbers of animals they are owning. Kindly reduce the number so that you are reducing the emission of methane gas in the atmosphere, which is a source of greenhouse gas, and it is the reason behind the increase in temperature. So let's do that. It is very easy to do that.
Absolutely, and very many thanks, Mr. Mollen, for coming this morning and having this discussion with us as we talk about the way forward into what can be done in terms of climate action. We talk about moving to the renewable energy, but also what we can basically do as an individual. Plant that tree. Make sure that you also have a contribution into reducing the greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. We'll leave it at that. Later than this, we'll also be going into Good Morning Uganda agenda that will be coming in right after this. Right now, we'll be taking a short break, and when we get back, we'll look at the agenda. Good morning.
These days, our homes are no longer just the places we live. It's where we attend meetings, go to class, keep each other safe, and entertain ourselves. To do this smoothly, you need a reliable internet connection. Buy the MTN WakaNet router, which connects up to 32 devices and gets a free 40 GB data bundle at only 149,000 shillings. Or buy the MTN WakaNet MiFi at only 75,000 shillings and enjoy a free 15 GB bundle to stream, study, work, and play on the go. Visit any MTN service center to buy the MTN WakaNet router or MiFi and enjoy the internet that does amazing things.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
This isn't just a girl. She is the future. This is a teacher, a doctor, a community leader, our future president.
This is our family's pride. This is my friend.
This is the future of our nation.
She is the future of Uganda, and the policies I enact today will protect her from teenage pregnancy.
She is the hope of our community, and I will talk to others about how we must protect her.
She is our family's pride, and I will protect her from child marriage and talk to her about the dangers of teenage pregnancy. We each have a role to play in empowering our teenage girls to protect them from child marriage and pregnancy, because when we empower them, we empower our nation. Protect the girl, save the nation.
Their support meant so much to me. I stayed focused and was protected from child marriage and teenage pregnancy. I will support other girls against child marriage and teenage pregnancy.
Take action. Report any case of defilement or child marriage to the police or call Sauti 116.
My name is Atube Richard, a member of a group called Kanyope, located in Bungatira sub-county. This group started in 2008, but the Prelnol project started supporting us in 2009. The project has offered us training on farming, and the training we got has helped us immensely. We used to farm in a traditional way, planting a variety of crops. But when the team from Prelnor approached us, they asked us to choose particular seeds to grow which can yield very well in our area. We chose groundnuts and rice, which we are growing. With this kind of farming, the project also taught us how to sell as a group after finding a market. The support from the project has been so good to us.
Iwakato, this is a quick call. I'm almost out of minutes. Now, so the center.
Why rush through such important conversations? Airtel Uganda has made it possible for you to call across all networks in Uganda at the best rates with the new Bona voice bundles. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with minutes valid for calls on all networks. Dial *100*1#. Select voice bundles and select Bona voice bundles today.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.